this computer. Hey, looks like we're recording. Awesome. I am Andrew Miller, and I am the host of Connect Skagit, because one of my favorite things to do is to connect people in our wonderful community. And I'm joined today by my good friend, Jermaine Cornegay. And say hi, Jermaine.
Hello.
Awesome. No, and what's fun about Jermaine is I sent her a note last night and said, hey, Jermaine, let's do a podcast. I really want to get you on the podcast, but since tomorrow or tonight at 12:01, I become a PUD commissioner, and you've been a PUD commissioner since August, it would just get weirder quicker, and we'd probably have to do a public announcement because then we would have a quorum of the PUD. But today that's not the case. So we are taping this on the 31st of December in 2020. Lest anyone get sideways and want to make a ruckus, because the PUD is the period of making a ruckus in all the wrong ways is over at the PUD. So we're super excited about that. So, hey, Jermaine, I was just sharing before, one of my favorite things to do is connect people here in the Valley. And you are absolutely one of the most fascinating people I think that I have the opportunity to work with. But, you know, one of the first people, actually, when I moved, so I grew up here in the Valley, and when I came back to work for EDASC, it was like literally that same day we sat down and I was at your table. I think it was the EDASC annual shindig.
Right next to me.
Yeah. And I got to know you a little bit better. And I'm just hoping you can, and for all the people that don't know you, I just would love for you to take an opportunity to tell us, you know, who you are and what you're about and how you got here.
Well, I am Jermaine Cornegay from Philadelphia originally. The Eagles don't have a chance, so go Hawks.
There you go. Yeah, you picked the right bird.
And that's fine. Yeah. But so I actually met and married a Navy boy while I was in Philadelphia. And, you know, we had two choices. We had Florida or Washington State. And I'm like, hello, I hate bugs.
Yeah.
I love greenery. So hello, Washington State. And so I've been here for about, maybe 20, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm thinking about 25 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, in Washington State.
So you grew up in Philadelphia. Now, a lot of people here in the Valley did not grow up on the Eastern Seaboard or in a big city like Philadelphia. How was that? What made you?
It is so different.
Yeah, no, they're so different. It's like Jermaine, the Philly girl.
It's a good different.
Yeah.
Actually, what's funny about that is I just met a gal yesterday who brought her dog in for grooming, and she said she lived in Philadelphia. I don't know how we find each other.
Yeah.
And just about an hour ago, while I was at Costco, the son of another Philadelphia client was working the checkout, and we got chatting. Philadelphia people love to talk.
Yeah, I'm going to call it the ex-Philly, right? So you're ex-Philling to Western Washington.
We love to talk, so we always find each other like that. Yeah. And we are told that we're loud.
Yeah.
We're kind of out there, you know, we kind of, how we feel is how you know we feel.
Yeah. Well, hey, so back for me, this, and this is just not, again, I grew up here, but you have this whole like Boston, New York rivalry, and then it seems like Philly just kind of sat that one out, or everybody hates Philly, and so it's not just like, oh no, everybody like, oh, Philadelphia. No, so you're all just like get together. So how's that work? Like just real quick, down and dirty.
We all hate each other.
I see. So everybody hates each other. Everybody, it's like everybody gets Philly.
Well, not everybody hates Philly, but I'm just saying we all hate each other. Like,
oh yeah,
like there's all the East Coast teams are all rivals. Just like really, it seems like all the West Coast teams are all rivals.
Right.
You know, like I remember my cousins from Washington D.C. coming to visit us with their Redskins flags.
Oh, right.
For the game.
Yeah.
And they're talking so much smack.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course they won that game.
Yeah.
And I was just a little kid, you know, but I remember that feeling. How that felt. And then of course, but it's funny because on my mom's side, there's a few of us who are also Giants fans. And I love the Giants. I've loved the Giants since I knew the team name. I used to say
I'm Taylor for the all the team. Way, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I just love the Giants. I love the Giants since I was a little kid. I have a Giants sweatshirt in my closet right now. And I've had Giants stuff forever. And I would say it probably is my first favorite team, maybe even before the Eagles.
Ah, there you go. Truth be told, you heard it here first, folks. Oh,
but I have like 5 favorite teams. So
hey, that's the way to be. That way you're never disappointed.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And when they're playing each other, then you're in trouble.
All right. So you're a Philly girl, you find a Navy guy, you make your way out here. You've been out here for 25 years. And you mentioned before, so you're in the dog care business, or all pets, or just dogs, or unpacked. So, and how'd you get into that?
That's a really crazy story.
I love crazy stories. So we're neighbors.
Okay. I totally forgot, but we ended up moving from Philadelphia to San Diego. And then it was from there that we did was it going to be Washington or Florida kind of thing?
Navy, in true Navy style.
Yeah, right. So we were in Coronado, North Island, San Diego. And so I was a Navy wife for about 10 years. And while we were down there, I'm just a, housewife. I just had my daughter. My daughter was a few months old. And my dog, speaking of my dog, Trey, go lay down.
Making a cameo.
Yes, he's trying really hard. He knows when I'm on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, well, somebody else is getting attention. It's not him.
So while I was there, just looking through the papers, help wanted ads, and I saw an ad for bather wanted, dog bather. I had volunteered at a friend's shop before, and I thought, why not, whatever. And literally, I got fired the first day I worked. Get this.
As a dog bather, you get fired.
La Jolla, California.
For talking too much, or?
La Jolla, California. Okay. This much experience.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I'm just going to go in and
experience.
And I didn't even know really my dog reads very well, especially, in a different area of the country. Right. And it was a really busy, kind of prestigious shop. And I'm like, what the heck? I got fired the first day. I begged her for another chance. Begged her because I love dogs. Yeah. And so I'm like, I just loved doing this. And I said, would you please give me another chance tomorrow? And she asked me, do you really love dogs? And I said, yes. The next day I came in, kicked butt. She worked with me. It was about a year and a half later when we got stationed up here.
And so you brought it with you, and then so you decided. So you came up here and you said you want to run your own show, or did you hop on?
Well, so when we moved here, I actually started out cleaning hotel rooms for a little while, and there was a grooming opening at Highland Animal Clinic in Mount Vernon. That's when I think they just sold the building. So worked with Dr. Johnson and his wife, loved it. And I just said, look, I have really not much experience grooming. They were patient with me. It took me about 3 hours to do my first haircut. And I was self-taught, but I feel like I worked with the best, and her and I are still friends.
Is that right?
She still does her, the lady from California, she was kind of like the grooming Nazi, right? But she was tough to work with. But I feel like I learned from the best.
Awesome.
And I worship her. Like she is phenomenal. And we once in a while reach out to each other. But when I came here, of course, I got humbled really quickly because I wasn't nearly the groomer she was. But 25 years later, I feel like I have a whole lot more experience. Yeah. But the shop thing, there was a woman who had a shop in Burlington at the time, who I should probably get my dog to lay down. Sorry.
It's all right. He knows you're talking about other dogs.
Go lay down. Go lay down. He's a little jealous. Go lay down. I don't know what his deal is. Like he's so needy. He's like the neediest dog I've ever had in my whole life. Go lay down. And okay, that's done. No. Anyways, when I was working at Highland, it's been 4 years, and it was kind of getting to me a bit down. And I thought, well, I probably want to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. I went to a woman who was selling her business. The business was not taken care of. I mean, whatever. But so I kind of flaked out on that a bit. A woman came in, couple, they're going to buy this business. They wanted to have lunch with me. They're from out of town. I have the clientele. Mm-hmm. They have the guts to buy this business. They're going to fix it up. I came in as a partner with them. And when I came in as a partner with them, I found I was outnumbered all the time because they were a husband and wife team. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't working out. Yeah. They lived on the property. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I'm paying, your living expenses, and, this isn't quite fair, whatever. And I felt like I said, I was an employee, not a partner. Yeah. So and there was a lot of weird things going on there. But what happened was I offered to buy them out. Mm-hmm. And like, how much will it take? Because I literally just left my work. Right. I don't have any employment other than this. And so please let me know how much it will take, and I'll buy you guys out. They were in a hurry to get to North Carolina anyways. Mm-hmm. And they gave me a price. They changed the price, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I begged, stole, and borrowed to get the money to buy them out and change the name. I had to change the name because the blessing in all of that was that when they bought that business first, they bought over all of the previous owner's expenses, all of her debt, which there was a lot that she did not disclose. Ouch. Mm-hmm. So I dodged a bullet on that one. Yeah. So you just bought the assets then when you bought the business. Yeah. And it's been wonderful. I mean, it's been quite a learning experience. I've moved a few times since, and now I'm finally where I want to be, doing exactly what I want to do. In the meantime, what's the name of your business? Animal House Pet Grooming. And it's in Woolley? In Cedar Woolley. Yeah, right on the main drag, Metcalf Street, 905 Metcalf. Right. I've actually, in the meantime, I went to school at Western and studied human services with a minor in psychology. Nice. And I thought that I would, go do these things in the community to help other people. And, when I went through my divorce and, a lot going on, put myself through school while running a business and raising my teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. That was the toughest time in my entire life. Yeah, no, that's a lot of variables. Mm-hmm. So I ended up, I ended up where I'm at right now. Yeah. But I did try working at a few local nonprofits, and it didn't quite work out. Mm-hmm. But I'm really glad I did it. Yeah. But really what it boils down to is I have to depend on me. And when you're working for someone else, you can't, I got kind of spoiled. You can't like take off to go to a doctor's appointment necessarily. You can't go pick up your kids from school, right? All those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And I decided I'm just going to do this on my own. You just want that autonomy, right? Where if it's going to be all on you, you might as well, that risk and reward, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Follow your passion. You hit your hustle, full stride. You're going to school, you're building your business, you're raising your daughter, and then no good deed goes unpunished, and you decide to run for Cedar Woolley City Council. Is that right? So walk me through how that, because you're a former city councilwoman. Yeah. What was that like? And how did that happen? Because I think there are a lot of people in the Valley that were just like, wait, what? Cedar Woolley? I know. Somebody from like, how does someone from Philadelphia find their way onto the city? Is like, wow, there's got to be a story here, and that's what we've unpacked quite a bit of it. But what was the draw? Why
Why city council? Why then?
Because at the time there were no women on the council.
Wow.
And I'm such a women's advocate.
Well, and a powerful one at that. I think that's tremendous. And so you saw, and I want to say you saw an opportunity, but there's a trend here in that you kind of made the opportunity, right? You saw a need, and you put your skin in the game, right?
Well, it seems like what you're saying is true, but what I saw is that first I noticed there's no women on the council, but I didn't think about that woman should be me necessarily, but I noticed it. I kind of took note. There's no women on the council.
Yeah.
And this is a crazy story. So there was an organization that did, they did an event in Mount Vernon at the Philip Tarl Theater. And it was a woman's event. And it was all about women in elected positions. And I went to that event not knowing that. I just went to see a movie in my sweats and my, eating my lunch in the back of the theater kind of thing. And they had it all strategized, and they were totally pointed in asking me if I would run for Cedar Woolley seat 2.
Wow.
And that happened at the end. And I will say there were about 4 or 5 elected officials up front. And they pointed me out. I literally had a whole mouthful of food. What is going on here? And then they're like, would you run for that seat? And it was it was a blessing, but at the same time, I felt at the time a curse. Only because for me, I'm super competitive.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I take something like this on, I mean,
you gotta win.
Everything else, if I take something like this on, everything else is going to go by the wayside. And I don't know that I'm ready for that. And I, because I know how I am. And the reporter asked me how I felt about that. And I said, hey, can I just get back to you in a couple of days? This is something I really need to think about. I didn't come to this event knowing that this was all about. So give me a few days to think about it. It was in the back of my head, but I thought about it hard. And although it was really hard to say I want to do it, I thought it was probably something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. I loved it. Yeah. I love Cedar Woolley, and it's so weird to be from Philadelphia to Cedar Woolley. But I will tell you, my background, my great grandmother, who I worshipped, Louise Kennedy. She was the biggest tobacco farmer in all of North Carolina at the time. And she was my hero. And I would visit her every summer. And to me, Cedar Woolley reminds me a whole lot of those days when I would go visit my great grandmother. And there's no place I'd rather be.
Wow.
And
that's so cool.
And this is the reason I raise chickens right now. I mean, my great grandma, literally, I think about her almost every day.
That's so cool. She
died at 104 years old. She was a tough woman.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like I'm gonna, my campaign photo, I don't know if anybody remembers, I was holding one of my favorite hen, Big Bird. She was the first hen I purchased. And I just feel like I can have both of those worlds in here. I love Philadelphia. I love that real talk, that kind of thing. But I also love everything about North Carolina, and I love everything about Cedar Woolley. Yeah. Now, when I was asked to represent Cedar Woolley on the city council, all those things came to mind. And I thought, why not? I had no idea at that time that I would be the first person of color. I was thinking about, there's no women representatives on the city council. And it wasn't until the night I won the election and I was at the county office, and you know, in the elections area with all the other candidates, and Kimberly Caval comes over and says, how does it feel being the
from Herald, right?
Yes. Yeah. And she goes, how does it feel being the first person of color ever elected in Cedar Woolley's history? She asked me a question similar to that.
Yeah.
And literally, I had no idea.
Right.
Until she even asked me that question.
Part of your platform, right? I mean,
and like when she said it was so shocking that I just burst into tears.
Yeah.
And I literally couldn't believe it. And I believe it was like on the Skagit Valley Herald the next morning, of course. Rex Sandstrom was standing right next to me, and luckily, and so I like literally buried myself in his shoulder, like, oh my God, like I had no idea.
Right.
And that's super important because the whole time I was campaigning and talking to my friends, I'm running for city council in Cedar Woolley. Now, when I look back, I sense some doubt. I sense some doubt in them as to whether I could do it or not. Well, yeah, good for you. Yeah, good for you. But it wasn't very sincere. And after the fact, I realized they didn't think that it could happen in Cedar Woolley. They didn't think it could happen. And during that campaign I did talk to NPR one time about my campaign. And during that campaign, I did talk to a person who literally looked me in the eye and said, I will never vote for you because you're Black. And he literally lives like maybe a 16th of a mile down the road.
Right.
And I listened to him and I realized that is part of Cedar Woolley. That's part of our United States.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's the history. I listened to him and I learned from him.
Wow.
When he said that he hated that he was a bigot, he hated that about himself. That told me that I could listen to him because he is learning about himself the same time he's teaching me about himself.
Wow.
You know, and that was probably one of my favorite conversations, although I didn't really get to do much talking.
But it sounds like you did something more important. You did some listening.
I did a lot of listening.
And I think as I've talked to people, you know, people ask me, you know, about, you know, being able to just start serving on the PUD with you. And, you know, people are like, you know, your brand, your leadership brand is really to listen. But then when you speak, it's unfiltered. Like you're gonna hear what your truth is. And you really are really quick to the conversation with a truth that is hard fought. Like you paid the price by listening, and I know I'm pretty excited about that. And that's something that you had shared is when people ask, you know, how did Jermaine get elected to city council? And we were talking about, you said, I asked for it. I went out and I knocked on doors and I said, hey, I'm Jermaine and I would like to represent you. What do you want to see different? What's the kind of Cedar Woolley that you would like? And I think that's relatively rare in politics at the local level. I mean, people clearly go out and knock doors and ask for votes. But I think that you really have that authenticity. And if I'll say it time again, I think our strongest community, the strongest thread in our community fabric is our authenticity. Right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's like my number one. If you can't be yourself, like I actually talked to a campaign person, and actually when I was putting these earrings on, Andrew, I thought about the person who told me, don't campaign with hoop earrings. People will think lower of you. And just things like that. I had a person tell me, if you don't read this book, you will not win your campaign. You have to kind of like you said, be yourself, be authentic. I know, even though, I mean, I've lived in Cedar Woolley long enough to know, I've lived in the county. You know, I ran back and forth here and there, especially right after my divorce. But I've lived here long enough to know how people think. Yeah. And because talking to them, not just for my own campaign, but many campaigns before. Right. Many campaigns, a lot of PUD commissioners' campaigns. And so I've always been, and I will say, I've always been an advocate for us having good water. And water is so important. And I mean, especially like when I'm helping other commissioners and other people with their campaigns involving water, or even like, fluoride in water or privatizing water. What about the Nestle company? All of that stuff. I've been involved with all of those. And so when this came up, it wasn't like just jumping in to PUD from city council. I've always been interested in our water. Mm-hmm. And it didn't dawn on me till the question came up. Like, I've done this, and this, and then I realized I really do care about our water.
Right.
And so
that's a great transition. So I guess Aaron made his announcement in June-ish, and then there was, and so you saw that opportunity and had this again. There's this trend here where there's a little bit of a sliver that's open. You're just like, you know what, this is actually really attractive to me. And then so you just jump in and you applied and you were selected to fill Aaron Berg's fill the rest of his term in August. What was that process like? Because I don't think a lot of people really. And again, it was one of those wow. The people that I talked to, I was like, wow, that's awesome. That it's Jermaine, that Jermaine was selected to fill this seat. And I think when you talk to, and Joe and I didn't actually talk to Al about it, but it was like, no, this is a logical fit. It was, you can fill this role. But what was the process like?
It was really similar to when I ran for city council, as not something I particularly wanted to do necessarily. I mean, I love the water and I love our water and I love like advocating for our water, but I thought somebody else could do that. I'm really busy and somebody else could do that, whatever. And I kept saying, I'm going to find someone to do that. And I was busy, but I kept thinking, I can't think of anyone. Like, I can't think of anyone that might want to do that. And, it was getting down to the wire. Literally, this is crazy. So it came down to filling out the application and all of that. And I couldn't get my laptop to work, of course, like even getting to the Zoom meeting I'm probably worse than Al as far as technical. So because I have an old laptop that someone gave me from their grandmother. Right. I was going to get one a few weeks ago, decided not to, but I was literally finishing if you look on the website, I wrote mine by hand. I couldn't figure out how to download and
file or whatever. You're like,
I couldn't figure out how to do that. So I had to write it. I copied the papers. I wrote it by hand and turned it in that way as I'm in the parking lot for the PUD, because I really waited to the last minute, couldn't find anyone, and thought, I'm just going to do it. I love the water. I love how our commissioners have been doing things. And I love how Aaron Berg kind of took that on. I was a little bit upset about Aaron Berg leaving, but more about him leaving the city than leaving the PUD.
Yeah.
And because I knew how important he is he was important to Cedar Woolley.
Super talented.
And I thought, oh my gosh, we can't do this transition right now, kind of thing. But all that aside, I'm really glad I did. And I had talked to some folks and I thought, I'd never thought I would run for a countywide position, but I was actually interested in maybe the port, but actually PUD speaks a lot more to me than a port. So it was a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so why did you feel like maybe a countywide position wasn't going to be for you? Your track, you really felt the pull to Cedar Woolley, or?
Well, mostly because it was a lot. Like, I don't know if you remember me saying when I was running for city council, how I'm super competitive and I just kind of feel like, could I handle that? And I was happy on the council, and I love our mayor, and I love working with our council, and it's really Sedro-Woolley is so tight knit.
Yeah.
I love being involved in all of that and advocating for people who live in Sedro-Woolley.
Yeah.
And like you say, you knock on doors and you get to know people, and now it's a county-wide thing. And so it's not as, I don't feel like it's as tight.
Yeah. But I will say that's where we need the help. I think it's
exactly.
It's at the countywide stuff. That's when you look around, it's even our little cities and towns that are being so well run. The challenges that we face are so complex that we have to get some community-wide solutions going. And that's one thing that was my draw to
exactly.
Yeah, it's about water, but you know what? Everything that I love about Skagit Valley is you can trace back to water, right? And so while it's exactly. not and jobs that we can do, and we both have our day jobs, right? And there are only two. You hit it on the head. It's like you the port is an elected official, the port commissioners and the PUD commissioners. Everybody else is full time, and that's not where I'm at right now. But I did want to serve, and I know that's one thing that you're interested in too. So. What are some of the things, some of the opportunities that you're seeing as you look around the county, the stuff that hurts, or the stuff that, kind of one of those, what's going great, and what do you think that we should be putting some more time and attention towards?
Well, things that are going great, I will say, is exactly our tight-knit community. We are so supportive of each other. When I see like other counties, like I think I saw an advertisement for Snohomish County. And I'm thinking that's wonderful that they could spend the money and promote their businesses and talk about spending money locally. I think we in Skagit County already know to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to be told to do that. And it's kind of what we do. I'm so busy at my business. And when we shut down for COVID, I had a huge waiting list. And people literally saying, I want to support local business. And I know that that's one of my things. I love to support local business. And we just do that. We do that so good here in Skagit County.
For sure.
I mean, we just do. We reach out to do that. And what we could use help on is helping each other get through these tough times. We really need to, I'm just going to say, we really need to deal with the short-term pain for the long-term gain. If we don't get through this together on the same page, we will keep losing businesses.
Right.
like the Skagit River Brewery. That makes me sad.
Yeah. No, tons of people call me with the same thing. What happened? This is so sad.
If we could just get through we're just almost there. If we could just, we could just mask up, get through this, keep our distance, be safe, and get through this. And on this other side, we will be helping our businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, as a small business owner, and I'm sure you agree, it's like the short-term pain, long-term gain. If we keep dragging this out, we're just going to keep hurting our businesses. And I want nothing more than to see our businesses thriving.
Yeah. No,
it makes me sad. And more than ever, now we are supporting our local businesses. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. What, in terms of, I really campaigned on the whole idea of quality of life, really, and being at the household level with these small businesses and whatnot. What are some policy decisions that you've seen either when you were at on the city council or in the short time, since August at the PD? What are some of those like community level decisions that we ought to be leaning into to support, that quality of life, be it housing, be it policies that support? Now, certainly there's a practice like you're talking about. Hey, we just need to vote with our wallets and support our neighbors and their businesses. But what are some of the policy level stuff that, hey, here are some policies that we need to change so that we can maintain that quality of life really at the household level?
Yeah. I feel like the PUD already does a great job at doing that. And extending those would be nice. I think getting the word out to folks, which I've been helping get the word out. I've been actually, even before getting on the PUD, trying to reach out to Rebecca at the food bank, and hopefully getting her some paperwork or whatever it is, the information to pass along to folks that come visit the food bank, that there is help for paying your water bill. All you have to do is look for these resources, because they are there.
Yeah.
And I feel like getting the word out.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that even I decided to pick up and give this whole podcast thing a try, because it seems like there's the only way that people get information in Skagit County is on Facebook or in the Herald or the Anacortes American, right? So it's a couple of newspapers and Facebook. Otherwise, it's just who you know, and there's got to be a more equitable way to share information. And so I'm excited about at the PUD, finding out that they do have a public relations, person. I know.
Oh yeah,
the county has focused on. It's kind of getting the word out, and it sounds funny though, but it's like that unpoliticized, communications. There's just good information. I mean, like we know a PUD, the city of Mount Vernon put some money in to help people pay their water bills. Didn't even get all used up, right? There are people in our communities that can't pay their water bills.
And Cedar Woolley is planning to do that very soon. Exactly that. And before I even got appointed, one thing I did was I looked at our ratings at the PUD. Did you do that?
No.
So it was a little scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say. What you're getting into? I was like, no, I'm just going.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, cold
I expected like at least 3 stars.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
I think it was like at 1.5.
Yeah, well, it's only people that are upset that usually jump on there, right?
Exactly. But I read through them, and I do it regularly. I read through those regularly.
Yeah.
And what I see is not to be negative, but I see a lot of ignorance as far as like what the PUD does for people. What do they provide? And a lot of bandwagon jumping.
Yeah. We just get painted with that government brush, right? And that's one thing that, I'll sit there and talk to people all the time. It's not a junior taxing district. Your property taxes are not paying for this stuff. It's ratepayers that are paying for the infrastructure.
Exactly.
And we both well know we're sitting on 30 plus years of deferred maintenance, that bill is coming due, and those rates are going to go up, and people are going to say, what the heck? Like, where did this come from? And it would have been cheaper and better to do it 10 or 15 years ago, but we didn't. And those were
exactly
that were made. And now Jermaine, Joe, and Andrew are going to have to sit there. And I guess the beauty in that is that we are communicators across the board, all 3 of us, to be able to turn and say, hey, look, we're not out. Nobody here is getting rich, getting people water, right? Clean, clear water.
Exactly.
And that is a tough thing. Hey, talk to me real quick about broadband, because I get a lot of people pinging me. They're like, water is on lock, which is not exactly true, but we are organized, trained, and equipped to get water to people. What are some of your thoughts on rural broadband and really high-speed internet across the community?
Well, it's new to me because, as I mentioned earlier, full disclosure, I'm not technologically savvy.
Yeah.
But I do understand what it's like to have slow service, which I do. And even in the city of Cedar Woolley, I do. But I do. And as a business owner, and I know for a fact, there's a lot of people wanting to open up small business upriver.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who are homeschooling their kids at home right now.
Yes. I've had to bring kids to work with me because they couldn't get on a call, and it was embarrassing because their internet was lagging. But the fact is, I've got 5 kids in the school age kids that can't all be on Zoom classes at the same time. It was horrible.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping this isn't the new norm. But I mean, I really feel like whatever it takes, it's super important for us to have broadband upriver. It's important for people to be able to connect.
Yeah,
We
it's
know.
including those people in our community, right? I think that is a huge part of, and again, it gets to, I had somebody say, hey, you know, the only reason I'm going to vote for you, Andrew, is because I feel like you're going to be somebody that can help put the unity back in our community. And I went to bed and woke up thinking about that. And that's not a small stewardship, to be able to say, hey, you know what, to be a unifier is really to listen, to identify what's critical, what are the nice to haves, and then really prioritize the limited resources that we have. So
exactly.
that's what we got to do.
It's interesting because it's a lot for me to I'm a very visual person, but when I see like where the areas are lacking for broadband and for internet service, oh my gosh, I just don't know how people do it. And then people want to run businesses upriver and or around. There's pockets in Skagit County where you just can't get service.
Right.
And I mean,
feels like being left out, and that's not our style.
Nope. And especially now, what did he tell your kids when they're trying to get onto their class? You know, this is it, man. We got to do this.
That's it.
I'm so glad that you're on board with that, because the more I read about it, the more and actually I talked to Aaron a little bit about that, Aaron Berg, a bit about that, because he's such a nerd.
Yeah.
And actually my boyfriend is quite the nerd too. And so I realized, and he works from home, how many people like him, he's living in Cedar Woolley, so he has good service. But you know, how many people upriver would like to work from home, and it's challenging. How many Zoom meetings have you been on where people are having issues connecting? And
it's so frustrating because you want to contribute and you can't because you're lagging, or the call, you know, it drops, or it is frustrating. I'm
pretty excited to know that that's in our plan, and we all are on this. Even George from the PUD, you know, we're all on the same path. We all want to get there.
It's how we move forward. But these are, and as we mentioned before, these are investments, and they're not insignificant, and there are trade-offs, right? And here in trade-offs, there's two good things, and we got to go for the better of the two. And saving money is a good thing, but not if it ends up costing us more in the long term. And so I think that's something that I know I'm excited. But again, just get back to, we just got to communicate that far and wide, because there are those people that'll grab it and say, hey, this is just some crazy scheme to raise our water rates and give people so they can play Xbox faster. And that's just not the case. It's an inconvenient truth. We're really talking about quality of life and businesses and you know, the economics of a quality of life at a household level. So awesome. Well, Jermaine, it has been so fun to chat and to share your story with our Skagit community. Anything else that we didn't bring up that you want to, because there's got to be one more crazy story in there, because you've had like 4. Oh my gosh, this is the craziest stories. Anything else you want to share before we sign off? I
have so many crazy stories.
Well, we're going to make this, then I'll have a separate session. This is not the first time that we'll chat. We'll figure out how to do it as part of a public meeting, I'm sure. But thank you so much for your authenticity and for your time and for the energy that you bring to the PUD and to our community. And I'm really looking forward to starting serving with you on the PUD committee.
Thank you, Andrew. I wanted to say thank you and congratulations.
Thank you
for your win. I am looking forward to serving with you. More than you know.
All right. Oh, thank you so much. All right, everybody, I'm Andrew, and we just finished up chatting with Jermaine Cornegay, PUD Commissioner, and a small business owner, and really a spark plug of joy and excitement out there, really bringing to the rest of the community, and her lovely dog, who now is
great. Oh my goodness, someone's bringing the garbage can down the driveway.
All right, well, that's it for Connect Skagit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody.